Hi, people. Welcome to the Behind the Music live stream on the YouTube channel of Face Culture. Today we have a very special guest. Well, he's active. He has been active in many bands, and now he's working on several projects and bands also. Let's take a look at who we have as a guest today.
Hi, this is Martijn of Delain and Eye of Melian.
Hi, Martijn.
Hey, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. That was a
Yeah.
nice intro video.
Yeah, with a lot of shots of you in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to look for them, of course.
Yeah.
Because normally you're behind the keys most of the time. So
Yes.
if you take a look at that, what comes to mind if you see this video and you see all those pictures throughout the years?
That I'm not really used to being in how do you say in view, so to say. I'm more the guy in the background normally, and so that's a little bit getting used to. But yeah, a lot of memories, of course, because it's you took footage from a lot of years, like a collection from a lot of years. So
Yeah.
some nice things come to mind. Yeah.
It has been a long time, of course. What do you see as your starting point within the music industry? What year?
My starting point, I think, is when my brother asked me to join Within Temptation, when he started Within Temptation. And I think that was my starting point. Although then I was still going to school, I was a student. But yeah, it is kind of a starting point.
Yeah. Well, we discussed prior to this, we discussed several clips to show. Well, the first one I would like to show is a clip of you of Queen. What do you have with Queen?
Yeah, it's what I grew up with. I was a kid in the 80s, and I had two older brothers, and they kind of introduced me to this kind of music. And you always remember a moment when you become musically aware, yourself. And I recollect bits and pieces of the 80s. I remember when Take On Me from Aha came out, for example, and Bad Michael Jackson, but I was really young. But I really became musically aware, I think, with Innuendo. And then I kind of discovered Queen. And so very late in the life cycle of Queen with Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, I think it's a song from the album of 1991, and we're going to take a look at it. It's special. It's done by you, by Delain. But let's have a look. And why this song? That's my question too. Yeah.
That became known that he had AIDS, and it was kind of a story you really how do you say, experienced with him, so to say. Yeah. And and it also really breathes that era very much musically, and so I just really I love it, and it completely also fits the Delain vibe as well, in terms of chord progressions and just the vibe of the song.
Can you be a little bit more precise? What do you mean with the vibe of Delain and the vibe of the song, chord progressions?
Well, it's kind of a lot of minor chords, and I love writing music in minor chords, and it has that as well. And it has a very clear theme, and I love to work with clear themes. It has that. and but it was also just a pop song, in structure, and that really appealed to me. And also, it's pretty slow. I like to write slow songs. So what they, for example, did is they put a really fast hi-hat in there to make it feels faster than it actually is. When I started covering the song, I noticed how slow it actually is. It's such a slow song. And then I zoomed in and I noticed, hey, they use a couple tricks to speed it up in terms of how it feels. And so it was also very much a learning experience. And what was also really cool is we had to ask for permission to use that song. And our manager Sharon knew Brian May, so she emailed him, and he checked us out, and he sent an email that he was totally fine with us covering the song. The funny thing was, normally you have to go through a publisher, and they need to give you permission, and they were kind of like reserved about it. And then Brian May sent an email like, yeah, they're good to go. And then then there was no discussion anymore. And it was so awesome. We still have that email of Brian May printed and in a frame in the studio. It was really it's kind of an idol.
Yeah, you said Brian May, of course, but then also we have you mentioned Freddie Mercury already. What did you learn from him, Freddie Mercury?
Yeah, his voice is from another planet. It's just he just thinks he does things that I think you can do in terms of vocal techniques, and he just does it. He sounds, well, I think the best way to describe him is effortless. When you listen how he sings, how he makes music, it sounds effortless. And I love that when music sounds effortless. And it doesn't mean it's easy, because what he does is all but easy.
Yeah.
But it's very, very comfortable to listen to. And you can just sit down and enjoy it. And I think he was a master in that.
Yeah. Well, you already mentioned Within Temptation. You were asked by your brother. Well, you picked a song, a live song where you actually participated. It's from a few years ago, so not 20 years back when you actually were in Within Temptation. But we're gonna have to take a look at it now. Well, first of all, this special gig, how special was it for you?
Really special, because this was a song we played with the old band members of Within Temptation. So it was kind of a reunion. It was in a huge venue in the Sportpaleis in Antwerp, in Belgium. It was an anniversary show, and it was, of course, an orchestra, so it was a huge production. So for me, Within Temptation is family, literally family, because, of course, my brother's in there, and his wife is Sharon. And I owe them a lot, and a lot of things. I learned a lot in how to function in a band, how to make music, how to play live, and being on stage with friends and with family is just the best. And being able to share that with such a huge crowd. It was a huge crowd. I think it was almost 20,000 people or something. And so that was really magical.
And if you look back on the period you were actually in Within Temptation, what are your thoughts about that?
Only good vibes. I left because I had some health problems. I had like mono disease. You get really tired, and Dutch you call it fever. And I had those complaints for years after I left. So it was a good thing I left. Sad it was needed, but the period before that was fantastic. I think it when in your life you have moments that really shape who you are, and I think my time within Temptation really shaped me for who I am.
And how did it shape you music-wise? If you, well, what did you learn from it, and well, what was a good starting point for you with Delain?
Well, the influence of the kind of music, I can't get enough of the how do you say, the recipe, like the ingredients that Within Temptation used at that time: choirs, distorted guitars, um, melodic vocal lines, pop structure songs. Although in the beginning was also very doomy, also yeah, like really metal doom.
Mhm.
But I took that with me. It really influenced my taste, and a lot of those ingredients I still use. And also seeing how things worked, I had no idea. I remember playing at a huge metal festival, Dynamo, in 1997. I was 17 years old. I had no idea. I had coffee with Peter Steele. I had no idea who that guy was. And looking back, playing soccer with Moonspell, I remember that still. And those are like iconic metal artists. And yeah, I got a really, I think, a weird introduction into metal because of what happened then, and I had no notion of it.
Yeah. And then if you start, when were you actually writing your own songs back then during Within Temptation 2, and that actually what turned out to be songs for Delain, or did you started writing songs for Delain afterwards?
No, I kind of, when I played the piano, I always kind of improvised, and I liked to improvise and write stuff. And the first song I've wrote was actually Within Temptation. It's the song called Restless. It's kind of a ballad. And that's actually where it took off. But I was not really very much involved in Mother Earth. I was involved in the EP before that, the dance, a little bit. Actually, we did that the old-fashioned way, with part of it in a rehearsal room. I remember the song "The Dance" being developed. No, the other half of me was developed in there partially as well. Yeah, and then at Mother Earth, I left. So then I kind of started really developing myself in writing music.
Oh, yeah. Well, you also picked a few songs from Delain, well, to be shown now. Let's take a look at one from 2010. April Rain, of course. What's so special for you about this song?
Um, well, it's a typical Delain song. It has a typical Delain theme. The piano theme is very typical. And it was also the song, I think, that helped us break through in the metal scene internationally. I think that happened with April Rain, especially in the US. Why, I still don't know. But so it kind of changed the whole game, that song. Um, so yeah, I have good memories about that.
You said change the whole game, meaning what? Gig-wise, touring-wise, or
Yeah,
entourage?
I think that album kind of got us our own, how do you say, our own fan base. Because the album before that, Lucidity, was kind of a project album, and you're still searching for your sound and who you are as an artist. And with April Rain, that kind of got shape, so to say, and you kind of found. We always call it our tribe. We kind of found our tribe, so to say.
Yeah, that sounds good. We have questions, but I think the questions focus on the new material. So let's wait with the questions because, well, we're gonna follow some storyline, of course. Um, um, is it important, the US? You said, well, especially in the US, you found your base. You actually, well, you develop your name within the metal scene. Is it important, the US? Is it the scene to break?
Um, it's not the scene to break, but it's a huge place. And if you have a huge place, you can, how do you say, play your music, release your music. It helps you to be an artist and to do that as a profession and to focus your time and your all your means to be able to do what you do, and therefore it's important. But you can also be, if you have a big mainstream hit in Germany, they say you can tour there your entire life. So it doesn't need to be the US, but it is important. But also, for example, the UK, I remember that our record label Roadrunner didn't want to release April Rain in the UK, and I was like pretty devastated about it. Like why not? And back then, the in the business they said like, yeah, you have to conquer country by country, and at a certain point we got an offer to play there, and I thought, let's play there. And then I said, yeah, but you don't have any release there, so why play if you don't have a release? And it's kind of the chicken and the egg. And we did the show, and then they decided to release April Rain there, and then things internationally started rolling.
So that means that actually your own gut, I mean, your feeling that you have is probably the way to go then.
Always, yeah. I really learned in the music industry that you have to follow your heart and follow, what you feel. I think that's very important, and it's good to use your ratio. It's just like normal life. Like you use your mind, but always also use your heart.
Well, we're gonna talk about it later. Follow your gut. The next video is one from 2014.
Bring back my heartbeat, bring back the warmth of skin, the world we're living in. Bring me the light, bring me the starlight, bring me the sun and moon, release the stars tonight.
Stardust. Why?
Why Stardust? Yeah, somehow it's a very popular song with our fans, and it has been received very well. And it's funny because it's very popular online. It's very popular. People request it a lot, but live is not the strongest song. Somehow, people are always like watching, but not really participating. But for the rest, it's very popular, and I still didn't figure out what the difference is playing it live or listening to it. It's different.
What are your thoughts on it? Do you have some sort of explanation?
Yeah, it's not so interactive, live, the best way to experience music with the crowd is to experience it together, and that means you ask something of the crowd and you clap. You ask them to clap, or there is a part where some things go berserk, like they make a mosh pit or whatever. And with this song, that's not happening. People are always watching, and there's not really a part like that in it. But online on YouTube, I think it's our most viewed video ever. So it's I think it has like 10 or 12 million views or something. So it's really funny that you see that you also have the other way around. You have a song which is actually a bonus track. It's called Don't Let Go. People go really nuts in the venue, like when we play it live, and it always is kind of the we have to convince the crowd that song will do it. But on the album, it's a bonus track. so it's really funny.
But can you tell when you write a song? Can you tell? I mean, especially you. Can you tell what works or not, or is it for you also a big enigma every time you finish the song?
Well, it's always a magical moment when you write a song and you record a song and you play it live for the first time. Even when you sound check it on stage for the first time, then you will know how it will work. Then a song comes to life. It's always a magic moment, and I think that's also part of the charm, that there is some magic, and you cannot explain everything. You cannot analyze everything. Music is also a bit magic. Of course, you can analyze music, but there is this factor called magic, and some people say it's the only real magic we have in the world. And if I'm a dork, I know there is even a saying with Harry Potter from Dumbledore saying, music, a magic far beyond what we're doing here. And it's I think music is magic. It kind of does something to people, that like the emotion of it. Yeah.
So you think so? So then you have the magic of actually writing the song, and then there is a magic moment too with the song is when you perform it. I mean, like you say,
Yeah.
live. Yeah.
Two completely different animals, I think. Yeah, and of course there are some. If you have a kick like going like boom, 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 that people can clap on it and that works. But that's only part of it, the minor part of it. It's you don't know until you play a song live.
That's great. Next video, it's one from 2019. So, well, we come to where we are now, time-wise. Let's take a look at it. Masters of Destiny. Why did you pick this song?
Well, simply because it's one of the more recent songs, and people really reacted to it, and I think it worked out really well. I wrote the whole song instrumentally, and then I gave it to Charlotte, and she also did a phenomenal job with it with vocals. When she sent it back, I thought, "Whoa, what is she doing now?" And it worked out. Yeah, it worked really well. So it was a really, really good collaboration, so to say. And I initially planned to have those choirs in the background, and that's kind of the whole, like the main theme of the chorus. And then Charlotte changed it with those vocal lines she did. And I think the combination is really, really good.
In hindsight, did you have many special moments working with Charlotte that way? Since you joined the band?
Of course, yeah, we worked together for 15 years or something, and so you have, of course, you have your magical moments, and they grew as well, because in the beginning I had experience, thanks to Within Temptation. I knew how it was to be on a big stage. I knew how it was to kind of work in that environment also with record labels, and she didn't. And also on stage she really grew, and so it became more and more. And there were, of course, a lot of magical moments, absolutely.
Yeah. How hard was it? Well, actually, the new phase that you entered with saying goodbye to the old band. How hard was the decision for you to make?
Well, it was, I think, the most difficult decision in my life. And it was not only my decision, of course, because when there are more people involved, then you influence each other. And people think there were like two sides, but there weren't. There were more like three sides. Were like the three guys who had a certain position and certain perspective, and there was Charlotte with her perspective, and it was me with my perspective. And we really, really tried to work it out, and really, really tried very hard. And then at a certain point, when you have to conclude that you can't solve it, that's of course a very heavy moment. It's kind of like a divorce. Yeah.
What was for you the turning point when you thought, well, now this is a divorce for me?
Several moments. You have like this first moment I got confronted by them saying, "Hey, we want to do things differently," and that's kind of a shock, and then you think about it and you try to come up with a solution, and I bet they also thought about it and tried to come up with solutions, and you try to find a way to make it work, and then at a certain point, you see you are so far apart that you don't, and that's very difficult, and it was very, very complicated, and I think I was really creative with solutions, and I even offered them the whole thing. I offered them the whole
Meaning?
band that I would leave.
Okay.
Yeah, and but we couldn't work it out because on this stage, it's a company as well, and then people say, "Oh, it's about the money." No, it's not only about that. It's also your life's work. I put everything into it, my time, my energy, and the money I had, everything, my talent, and so to let that go is a very tough nut to crack. And at a certain point, I did do that. But yeah, you have to work it out, and also on a business skill, and also on how to continue from that, because I wanted to continue too. I'm a musician, so I need to continue too, and there were so many factors there. I did have a lot of really good advisors. I was blessed with people around me, like people who knew everything about the music industry, but also simply my dad, for example, is an accountant, so he knows his whole life he did assessments on how a company works and how much is worth and how to continue. Those boring but essential things, and the creative part as well, because there were 3 people that kind of were the engine of what was Delain, and it was Charlotte, me, and Guus, and nobody knows Guus because Guus is very much in the background. So if you stop, and with me, Guus would stop as well, then that engine is gone. So how would that continue? And those were a lot of things we needed to think about, and we really tried.
Do you still speak to them?
No, as I said, it's like a divorce, and it's very painful to me, and also I also want to look forward. You never know how time continues and what will happen in the future. But yeah, I was really upset about it, and I want to leave it behind me, and it really gave me a huge scar. And but again, I never say never when it comes to the future, and I want to be positive, and and I also, you don't want to share all details online because it's just not a professional thing to do, and also not the good thing to do, also not the correct thing to do. And I really wish them all the best in the future and with their career, and they are very talented people. And who knows what the future brings. But for now, I just want to be positive and start a new chapter. And yeah.
And one of those chapters is Eye of Melian. Let's take a look at it.
Speak my name inside hide their light. Strength is found in the darkest night. Morning out here in this world, falls to the better side. In the land of no return is where the war is won.
Then we have the first question too. Andy B. I love what each member of Eye of Melian brings to the table, but the choice of vocalist in Joanna Kurkela was particularly inspired. How exactly did the collaboration come about?
Well, that's a long story, but I'm very willing to tell it if there's the time for it.
Yeah, there is, of course.
With Delain, we toured a lot with Nightwish. I love what Tuomas writes, and I love that music. And we first started touring with them in 2015. We toured with them in the States. We did a big tour. We toured with them in South America afterwards. We did another tour with them in the States. And Tuomas invited me over to his place and to go on a hike, to do like a couple days hiking in the Finnish outback. And yeah, that was of course an invitation I couldn't decline. And yeah, I like Tuomas very much. He's a really, really nice person. So I went over, and actually before that, I have to say, I'm going too fast. His wife is Johanna, so the current singer of Eye of Melian, and she came to the States to Nightwish show, and I met her as well. And she said she knew Delain's music as well, and she really enjoyed it. And so we started talking, and well, I met her again, of course, in Finland, and there actually the idea kind of sparked. Like, hey, what about? I also talked with Thomas about it, and he said, yeah, she would really like to work with you, and I loved her voice. I think she's such an amazing singer, and you immediately recognize when it's Johanna. So she has a very characteristic voice. I think she's amazing. So to me, that was like, wow, awesome. But back then, I was very busy with Delain, so I didn't really have the time for it. And but I did start slowly to write some music where I thought, that's not for Delain, but I just let it go and just write what comes out. And then at a certain point, I was again in Finland at Tuomas and Johanna's place, and he said, "When do you finally ask her?" So he was really like pushing it in a good way,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then it really took off. I said, yeah, why didn't I? It's like I really should do something with this, and so yeah, so I sent her some music, and she started singing on it, and it was just amazing, amazing, and the music I wrote. It fits her voice so well. It's ridiculous, and she yeah. So that's actually where it started.
Yeah. And what are your plans for it? I mean, for this project?
Well, to continue it.
Well,
So
but
it's
in what
it's
way?
not
Yeah.
yeah, it's not really a live thing for now, at least. You know, indeed we also got some questions. Do you want to play live? The thing is, it's very orchestral, you know, and also there are of course two other people involved, and I love movie score music, and I always worked with Miko on Delain. Miko is a guy, a producer and arranger. He does fantastic orchestration. So I write the raw orchestrations, and then I give to Miko, and he works it out. And we thought, what about us, like without any limits, just do it in this project, like orchestra all out with vocals, and that's kind of how it developed. And first, it was I asked him for, like, I thought it was a one man show, this Eye of Melian thing. You know, I asked Johanna to sing on it, but yeah, not really making it a band or a group effort, but yeah, it developed like that. And so the plans are to keep writing albums, and yeah, who knows for life. I never say never to anything.
Well, it sounds like that there will be, well, within the future, maybe several live shows, maybe not a tour, but
Yeah, I'm still like puzzling how to do it because there are so many orchestrations. So I need an orchestra then, and we don't really have a band. We don't really have normal drums, so we have to work out how to exactly execute this live. But yeah, it's kind of a challenge.
it's a nice puzzle, of course. Um, well, then the new Delain material. When did you actually think? Well, now I'm going to work on when the dust finally settled in. Um, when did you well when did you decide, well, now how I'm gonna do Delain, the new Delain? What? What was the starting
Well,
point?
even before it was clear, even in a period where I thought, okay, they continue and I continue on my own as a project, I wrote already music, which is kind of Delain material. And when they left, because by the way, I want to say that there's a misconception. People thought that I fired them. I never fired them. You know, we tried to work things out, and it became clear we didn't work things out, and then they decided they left. Like the 3 guys left, and because of the 3 guys left, Charlotte left. That's how it went. Because Charlotte told me, I don't want to go through a huge lineup change. Then I'd rather continue with my own stuff. So that's how it went. And so I already had some material. And then, yeah, when it was clear, like, yeah, you know, there are also other people who were in Delain for years who wanted to come back. And I thought, okay, there's so much Delain DNA still present. So then we continue, and yeah, I'm going to use that material for the new Delain stuff. And that's when we continued writing. I continued writing with Guus, and at a certain point with the new singer. And so, yeah, I was in the middle of COVID period. It's really weird. The whole COVID period to me was needed to catch my breath and so for me it was actually the timing couldn't, you know, it's a terrible thing, the whole COVID pandemic, but the timing was perfect for me. It gave me time to reposition and to rethink everything and to start over.
Yeah, we'll take a look at. We're going to take a look at the teaser you published a few days ago.
How can I find a second star to the right? I think that I've forgotten how to fly. I face my greatest enemy within, fear of falling my lullaby.
Well, the hardest part, of course, is replacing Charlotte, being as a face of the group, singer, of course. How did that search go?
Yeah, that was a difficult search because Charlotte is an incredible singer and a huge personality. She has a lot of talent, and so how are you going to replace that? That's very difficult. Besides that, people also grow attached, you know, to you know, that's always a big thing, which which is logical. So I already felt bad for whoever the new singer would be in that regard. So I was very, very critical on it should have been somebody who is extraordinary. And I had to conclude very quickly that I cannot only look within the borders of the Netherlands. You know, it's like 17 million people, a small country, and 70 million is a lot of people. But yeah, that was very, very difficult. So what I did is I searched online, people doing covers. I asked around. I fortunately know a lot of musicians. And at first I thought, yeah, this is not possible as a band. This should continue as a project. Because, yeah, you know, as a project, I can ask a lot of different singers I know, and that will work. But I found somebody who I think is extraordinary and fits the Delain sound so incredibly well that I now have, yeah, so much faith that this will work out. That I decided, okay, we continue as a band, and I found her abroad. She's not from the Netherlands.
Can you share her name already?
No. No, the thing is, People are really curious, of course. But I think it's good to give her a lot of time to prepare because she has to fill big shoes and yeah, it's quite something. So I think we need a lot of time, and I also want people to be convinced that she is a good singer with the music we release, and not first with just introducing her. And so I think the best thing is to introduce her with the new music. But the thing is, of course, that takes a lot of time because you need to record and you need to be a whole plan and it's mixed and mastered and all that stuff. So yeah.
Well, then there's a question from Pavlov's 1991. When will we know her name?
That's a very good question. I think it will be this summer. Yeah, because I really want to release a single ASAP, and a lot of things need to be prepared to be able to release a single. And the earliest possibility, I think, is summer. So then we will reveal our name.
Yes, Laura S. She says, "Hi, when can we expect a new Delain single?" So you say this summer. Can you be a bit more precise? Pinpoint it to a month, maybe?
That would be awesome. But well, let me say it like this: we're going to shoot the video in the upcoming weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to another country to shoot the video, and then it needs to be edited, and then everything needs to be finished with that, and then it needs to be offered to a lot of media, and then we can release. So I don't know yet exactly when, but if it's up to me, it will be tomorrow. But I think it will be August. That's what I suspect.
Well, we won't pinpoint you about it, but let's see. There's another question. I think it's maybe for you time to introduce a guest. Let me see. Where is the question? Yes, this one. Who will write or wrote the lyrics for the new album? Will subject change, more fantasy like Lucidity, or more modern like Global Warning? First of all, first question in this line of questions: who will write the lyrics for the new album or has written?
That's a very good question. It's the same person who also wrote the lyrics of Eye of Melian, and that's my wife, Robin. Yeah, and the reason is not because she's my wife, but I think she is very, very good in writing lyrics, and she is also somebody who is a fan of this genre. So she loves this kind of music, and she is a native speaker. She's from America, and she loves poetry. She's so good with language. So I asked her first for Eye of Melian, can you write lyrics for Eye of Melian? And she at first was a little bit, I won't say reluctant, but she really had to think about it. But I knew she would do a really good job. And
Is she at home right now? Maybe
she's here, sitting here. So we can introduce her.
Yes.
Can you
Great.
Well, hello, and thank you for having me.
Hi. How are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine too. Well, especially the lyrics for the new Delain album. How do you start with this? Theme-wise, or is it just a certain song that you started off with, or?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to start off saying, even though I write the Eye of Melian lyrics, and those are like very, very fantasy lyrics, Delain will be a little bit different because you can't really take like the same type of lyrics for Eye of Melian and put it into Delain music. I feel it wouldn't fit quite well. But there's definitely a more fantasy edge to the lyrics now for Delain. But Martijn, when he wrote the first song, he said, okay, well, can you take a look at this and see what kind of lyrics you come up with? And I don't know, it kind of just went from there, and I think it's been going all right.
I'm so happy. I feel spoiled. I'm really happy, and everybody who's involved in the whole process actually is. Yeah.
And as you said, I am a huge fan of the symphonic metal genre, huge fan, and so it's also been fun for me to really get a chance to write that style of lyrics as well.
Did you have experience in writing lyrics prior to this?
No, no, I did not. I mean, I've always, I mean, ever since I can remember, I kind of wrote my own, but you know, not for a band, not for an actual established musician. But I mean, I've written my own lyrics with songs in my head, I think, for as long as I can remember. So it wasn't completely brand new, but of course the procedure here was different. So yeah.
And what was it for you actually to present the first lyric that you wrote for a song written by Martijn? What song was it? And was it awkward? Were you confident, or
For Eye of Melian or for Delain?
the first lyric that
Very
you ever
first
wrote?
one.
Yeah.
The very first one.
Yeah.
Well, I was excited just because you know, I thought it worked out well, but of course, being the newbie to it, I was a little bit nervous, to be perfectly honest. But when I presented it to Martijn and sang it with the melody line,
Yeah.
I think it worked out.
No, it worked really well.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you know, you have to imagine somebody who starts with that and then immediately get pushed into the deep, I don't know how to say it in English, like the deep pool, how we would say it in Dutch.
Yeah.
You know, like people like Johanna listening to it, who's an established singer, and yeah, band members. Also somebody like Tuomas as well, Nightwish. Like a lot of people who listen to it, I can imagine that's pretty scary.
There was indeed a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how did you cope with the pressure?
That's a good question. Well, you know, I think every once in a while when I still present things to Martijn, I still get a little bit nervous sometimes. Just, I don't know, I think that's a bit in my personality, just like, oh, I don't know. But every time, yeah.
I think it's comparable to playing live. That you know, like even the most established artists who play live always experience some kinds of
Stage fright.
stage fright.
Yeah.
And I think it's also kind of a healthy thing, and it's just how it works. So I think it's totally normal.
Indeed, but of course, as time went on, I think it got a little bit less so, but
Yeah.
still, it's always there a little bit for me.
Especially for Eye of Melian, I think it went really organically, and for Delain, it's more puzzling, like which part fits there. For Eye of Melian, it's really easy.
Well then, Robin, I have one thing that I would like to share with you. It's someone said, NDB, I'd like to say Robin's lyrics are beautiful on every Eye of Melian song I've heard so far. They're very accomplished, and particularly those of Everstrong really hit home with me.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that with me. That actually, I'm really,
There you go.
really pleased, really pleased to hear that. Thank you, NDB.
Then I have a question. Is there one song actually written now for the new Delain album, a lyric where you say, well, that I'm really proud of, and why?
Yeah, a couple of them. Of course, they're not released yet, but
You can tell about them. That sparks some curiosity.
yeah, without being so very specific. Yeah, I am proud of a couple of them. Because again, you know, having written for Eye of Melian and then all of a sudden starting with Delain, I was like, well, you know, I hope that the lyrics fit the music and everything. So I was puzzling over that for the first song. And then I there was a couple things I'm like, that doesn't fit. And then when it was finally done, I was actually very, very proud of it.
You can tell about
Can you be more precise? Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, I mean, the one of them was just about kind of how do I describe the theme? Reaching for like your ideal, not necessarily self, but like what you want to do in life, your dreams, to be, I suppose, cliche, but and how difficult that actually is, like trying to find, first of all, what that is, and then set your course to it and actually make it. That's something that's very, very difficult. And I think I said that's the quest and the curse of us all.
Yes.
So,
That's actually the song where you heard the sample of.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Well, and for you, Martijn, if a song that she wrote the lyrics to, did you say, well, turned out really well for you?
Well, I noticed that she also experienced the whole divorce thing within Delain of course, from a distance, but she saw what it did to me, and I really noticed that coming back in the lyrics, and it felt to me that she gave my emotions a voice, because I can't write lyrics, and she can, and I think that was a beautiful thing, and it makes me really. Still, when I talk about it, makes me emotional. That's a huge gift. Yeah.
What song is it? What's the title?
Yeah, I don't know even if there's a title for
There's
it.
actually no title to that one
Because
yet.
we always use working titles, so it wouldn't say anything.
No, the working title is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with that, but that's
Yeah.
what they called it when they were just writing the music
Yeah.
before the lyrics.
The working title is Raiders. It's kind of
Yeah.
almost kind of a rock opera song, a mini rock opera song. Yeah.
Well, thanks for the information. Then one of the last questions: when do you think the actual album will be released?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm talking to Napalm Records about it, our record company. I have to say, by the way, that they were really, really supportive through the whole process, and I always felt backed that in a way that they say, "Hey, we got faith that you will come up with good music," which we know, and we know the sound, like the music will sound like Delain, and I sent them samples, and they really, really liked it, and I got their full support, and that's fantastic. And now we're looking for when is a good time to release. And I think it will not be this year. This year we will release singles, and then early next year we will release the album. But we're still looking what date it could be. We actually, I can tell this already. We are actually already booking a tour in April, a European tour. And we're also looking for playing the States next year, but that's all next year. So that's of course, a long time still. But yeah, the first singles will be released this year, and then followed by the album early next year.
Okay. And then you have your first show in Hedon in Zwolle.
Yes.
Yeah. And after that show, will there be other shows in the Netherlands or?
Not this year. I can say this. That's kind of also a new. We are doing kind of a secret show in June with friends and family, and I'm considering also inviting a couple really special fans to kind of with the new singer, that she can really feel how it is to play live in Delain, and to prepare her for our first show. So we will do one or perhaps even two shows in June, but it will not be shows with tickets. So it's kind of an informal, closed occasion. And then the first show will be indeed the Hedon show in my hometown of Zwolle in November. And then, followed by a lot of shows next year. That's the idea.
There's one question: will you play Poland?
Oh, that's a very good question. I hope we will play the entire Europe. For now, we don't have any shows in Poland, but I think we should sooner or later really return. The last time we played in Poland was with Sabaton on a tour like years ago, and it's about time.
Okay. Well, Martijn and Robin, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Looking forward to the new material, new band, not specifically new sound, but the Delain, newer sound. Thanks again, and I think we have to go out with only one song, with a new song, of course, and see you around.
Thanks
See
so
ya.
much.
Yeah, bye.